G'day, this is James Bennett Hullen for the JBH show, also known as the Just Another Bloke with a podcast. And today's episode is sponsored by Jono and the team at ProLink Trade Group. ProLink Trade Group are your trusted advisors on all things electrical and data contracting. But they're more than that. They're community members and they care about community outcomes. So if you want tradies with heart, get in touch with Jono and the team at prolinktradegroup.com.au. That's prolinktradegroup.com.au. Thanks very much. G'day. Welcome to the JBH show, also known as the Just Another Bloke with a podcast. And I'm here with James Zocchi. Is it Zocchi?
Zocchi.
Damn, I pride myself on getting people's names right, and I've just immediately gone wrong off the bat. And you're the owner of the Salty Dog Cafe down in Torquay.
I am, yes.
Awesome. Yep. So how did you end up there? Give us your life story from the start.
Look, long story. I worked for a couple of big companies. I've only had two jobs. Really.
Yeah, right.
I worked for, you may have heard of Coca-Cola.
Yes.
Amateur. So I worked for those guys for about 10 years.
Yep.
Always just looking after cafes, pubs and restaurants. And I think in the first couple of years, I really fell in love with the cafe scene and culture. And I just love hanging out at cafes. And at the time, I probably got to go in every single cafe in the CBD at the time in the early 2000s. There's a couple of thousand there.
Nice.
And anyway, I did some time at Coca-Cola. I thought I'd look for a job closer to home, and I got a job with a very large privately owned food company, PFD.
Yep.
They recently sold. And I was there for 10 years, and I looked after the sales teams. And again, it was just cafes, pubs and restaurants. But what happened in the early 2000s, I've just got a big love and affinity with the beach. And we're living in the eastern suburbs in Melbourne, and I recently got together with my partner, who is now my wife and mother of my three children. And I said, we got to get to the beach. We got to move to the beach sometime before the kids start school. So we moved to Torquay in, it was about 13, 14 years ago now. And I was commuting back to Melbourne, doing about 70,000 Ks a year.
Yeah, right.
I was leaving at 4:30, going down the Princess Freeway, and if anyone lives in the West and does that trip over the West Gate, it is
Brutal.
horrible.
Brutal.
Have you done it recently?
I only have to do it once a week, so I'm doing it Thursday mornings.
Right.
And it's not fun.
There's no good time to leave, right?
No.
And now they're doing all this work on the West Gate. It's just I don't know, when's that scheduled to finish?
When's the tunnel? Well, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, right.
3 years ago, and now it's 2026, maybe if we're lucky.
Yeah.
But
So look, I was just spending way too much time in the car. I ticked the box. I got the family to the beach. I was going to have my boys grow up by the seaside, which has always been a dream for me to live by the beach.
Nice.
But I was spending all this time in the car going to work, and anyway, jumped through a couple of hoops and fast forward. We found a little cafe on the beach.
Yep.
I wouldn't say it was run down because it was run by some really great and well-established hospitality guys in Torquay.
Yep. You obviously knew them from your previous work experience.
Yeah, and they've got I think 8 or 9 venues now.
Yeah, right.
But I think given the fact that it was going to be our sole venue, we've just put a lot of love into the place.
Yep.
We work really hard. We've been there almost 10 years now. So
awesome.
That's how we've ended up in a cafe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, cool. And did you grow up around hospitality venues, or is it?
No, well, look,
where's the draw?
I'm actually so Zocchi. I'm second generation Italian.
Yeah, right.
So my grandparents came out on a boat and came straight to Adelaide.
Yep.
So I grew up around my nonna and nonno. A lot of I think I probably started drinking coffee when I was about 5 years old. I was definitely drinking a Lambrusco, a bit of red wine with some pasta when I was about 6 or 7.
Yep.
And it's just the culture, just the love for making food. The house smelling of freshly, fresh coffee beans being ground.
Yep.
I grew up in that environment, so I've always had, coffee and food close to the heart.
100%.
I'm a terrible chef in saying that. I'm not bad on the old coffee machine.
You brought the coffee today.
I can pour a few squiggles on your latte.
Nice.
But I always grew up around coffee and food.
Yep.
And I sort of feel that, over the years of dealing with a lot of small business owners, I saw a lot of people go broke and lose money and lose their houses. And I always said I would never, ever own a cafe. It just looks like way too much work. But in a way, I sort of feel like it was always meant to be.
Yeah.
I used to go to work and in a suit and tie and sit in an office and present at board meetings. And, at the time, it was good, but it never actually it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
But going to work now in a pair of shorts, a t-shirt,
Yeah.
a hat,
Well branded.
I feel really comfortable. So
Awesome.
it's all worked out.
Awesome. So culture is obviously a big thing around the cafes. You like that sort of space.
Yeah, we do.
Can you describe what you try and make the culture like down at the Salty Dog? Is it?
Look, I would say, and just going back a step, when when we first took over the cafe, I remember my wife said something to me a few months in. She said, "Wow, you've changed," and she said to me, "It's like the old James has come back." And I feel like I said before, working in an office environment really it wasn't for me. And so being in the cafe, I'm in charge. Not that I'm a control freak. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I joke around. We've almost got 40 staff.
Yeah, awesome.
Like it's quite a small cafe, the actual working space.
But it's a hive of activity.
The footprint, we seat over 100 people and we're right on the beach and we're actually the only cafe beachside in Torquay.
Yeah, nice.
Everyone else is across the road.
Yeah.
So it's a cool spot. We're on the dog walking beach. You can bring your dog up to the counter. We try and keep the dogs off the tables.
A lot of people do.
But so personally, I think to answer your question, we have a lot of fun with the staff. Typically, the staff don't leave. That we get them when they're 15 or 16. They finish school, get through uni. Most of them have been with us for 7 or 8 years.
Yep.
And we have a lot of fun with the customers. So, we've got a good community down there, a lot of regulars that are there sort of daily and, have helped support our business since day one.
Awesome. So you grew up in Adelaide?
Yes.
Yeah. And when was the switch to Victoria?
Yeah, so Dad got a change. My dad's in publishing, and we come over in the early 80s. So I was about 7 or 8 years old. Eastern suburbs, Ringwood, we grew up in.
Yep.
So we were there for 25 years and just always had this inkling. We're actually from Henley Beach, which I don't know if you know where that is in South Australia. It's in the west, not too far from the city.
Yeah.
But always had this inkling that, we were meant to be back at the beach. And it's funny, after we moved to Torquay and we got the cafe, since then, my mum and dad have followed us down.
Yeah, right.
So they've left Ringwood, they're in Torquay.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law has also left the eastern suburbs and she's followed us down.
Yeah, nice.
So that wasn't part of the plan. But, but yeah, she's down with us too. So yeah. So my brother now, he now lives, he's interstate, but he lives by the beach.
Yeah.
My sister's still up in the Yarra Valley.
Yeah, nice.
In Melbourne.
Okay, awesome. So you're gradually convincing them all to come down to Torquay, or?
Well, look, I think my brother's done. He likes the warmer weather, so he's beachside anyway. So I've been twisting my sister's arm.
Yeah.
But her kids are in high school now. I think they might be done for the minute, but we'll wait and see.
But if they're into surfing, best surf beach in the world.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Right there. So
Yeah.
Okay. So and when you were commuting to Melbourne, obviously working with a lot of hospitality venues and that sort of stuff. When did you decide? What was the moment, if there was a particular moment, that you said, "Okay, I'm actually going to do this"? After staying for so long,
there was one pivotal moment.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine, without talking it up, we, I was flying around the country on a plane all the time, talking to the sales manager. But like I said earlier, the drive to Melbourne. I think I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning, driving to work in my gym shorts. We had a gym at work, with a cup of tea, half asleep. I'd do a workout and get in the office. And there was this one morning, I think it's near Lovely Banks out the back of Geelong. Yeah. There's some undulating hills. And I think I was actually listening to a podcast, probably changing one on my phone. I had a cup of tea in my right hand and I looked up and I had the cruise control was on, 102, 103. And there was one of those trucks carrying logs going up the hill at about 40 Ks.
Yeah.
And I just ripped the wheel to the right. Tea went all over the window. I ripped it back and I sort of skid and I went around the truck. And I just had this moment. And if a car was there, I would have taken it out. If I didn't look up, I would have hit the truck, gone straight behind it. And I had this moment just going, this job is literally going to kill me.
Yeah.
And I was probably struggling at the time. There was a lot of pressure at work at the time. And, I was living almost 2 hours commute from the office. So, pressure to be in the office late at night and then drive home was becoming more difficult.
Yeah.
And it was that moment, I tell that story a lot of the time, that I was like, I need to make a change. I don't know what it is, but I need to do something different.
Yeah. Obviously with a young family as well.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of time away from them, it's hard. So it would have had a toll on your mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I'm just thinking about that.
It was a moment. I remember looking up and just going, fuck.
Yeah.
And to see all these logs on the back of the truck, and it was literally a boom, boom, cup of tea everywhere, burnt my hand, burnt my legs, and I was like, uh-oh. And I think I pulled up at the there's some BP servos.
Yeah.
And had a breath, maybe bought a
Probably
coffee,
needed a breather
and a
after
biscuit,
that.
wipe the sweat off the brow. So anyway.
Yeah, wow. So how soon after that were you putting in your resignation?
So at the time, this was around 2016, 17, there wasn't a lot of, without sounding like a wanker, sort of national sales roles based out of Geelong, and working from home definitely wasn't a thing.
No.
Back then. So I went through the process with a few roles. They probably just weren't paying enough money and what I sort of needed at the time.
Yep.
And so we started looking at cafes, and how our one came about, we're looking at another one in a different suburb, and we put a deposit on it. And I spoke to the guys in town that owned our one. I said, hey, can you just check the P&Ls? It was funny because I was managing at work a $400 million P&L.
Yeah.
So I've come right down to not much money on a little cafe that I always said I was never going to buy.
Yep.
And they said, nah, James, this cafe you're looking at buying is too dear, it's too much, it's not making enough. So we put that to bed, and about a month later, I had some corporate tickets to the races.
Yeah.
At Flemington in a box, food, drink, all that sort of stuff.
Nice.
So I took my wife.
Times.
I said, I'll take the boys. They come along, and we're at the races, and we're having a espresso martini. And they said, James, in that conversation we had about a cafe, we're thinking about moving this one on. And it was pretty much that day at the races that we didn't finalise it, but we got talking. We negotiated, we cut a deal, and it was actually my wife that said, hey, I think you need to do this. She sort of pushed me in that direction, and to be honest, it's been the best thing for us. A lot of people come down and they say, wow, you've got such an amazing business there, but we're open every day of the week.
Yeah.
We do all the public holidays. The next day off, not officially, but technically is Christmas Day. That's the only day we close out of the whole year.
Far out.
Yeah.
So you clearly love it.
I love it. I love being there. And again, the reason for being in Torquay, I like surfing. And it's funny, I didn't surf a lot last year or the year before, just body, and I sort of lost my mojo. But if I'm not on the roster, I'll go for a surf, I'll go to the gym, then I'll go to the cafe and I'll have a coffee and I'll do some orders and I'll pat some dogs and I'll talk to some staff. And, if I'm not on the roster, I feel guilty for not being there. So I go there anyway.
So you're there.
Yeah.
So it's we were talking the other day about how you created the culture down there, and you said it was almost by accident, but it's just such a good little community vibe down there. Everyone seems to know everyone. You were telling me the stories of people that were meeting and just kept meeting at the cafe. And what do you think? What do you think made the cafe that space for some people?
I think, without sounding full of ourselves,
you're allowed to do that on the podcast.
I think definitely my team, which is an extension of me and my wife, and I think because we're there so often. But I think one of it's quite unique. You can't see the cafe from the road, so you don't know it's there.
Yeah,
you come, if you can imagine, you walk down these stairs, you hang a right, and then we've got cool music playing. There's dogs everywhere. There's swimming groups in the morning. There's run clubs. There's mental health groups. There's a man walk that meet there every Saturday morning.
Yeah, right.
And these guys, whatever men need to talk about, and there's been some recent things in the media about men's mental health.
Of course.
These guys get together anything from my age, like in their 40s right up to late 60s. And they go for a walk.
Yeah.
And they come back and they have a coffee.
Yeah.
And they didn't know each other. And all these groups, for some reason, I think because of the car parking, the accessibility, the ease to get in, and also all of our tables, we've just got these big 10-seater picnic tables. People share the tables.
It's a collaborative space.
And they start talking.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law, who we were talking about earlier, she's retired. She followed us down from Melbourne.
Yep.
She just pretty much hangs out there all day.
Yeah.
She's got some flower pots. She pots around. She knows everyone's dog. Everyone's dog's name. She just sits at the table. And that's sort of the space it is. It's a very welcoming and community space. And it takes conversations like this, because I'm quite private. I don't really talk about it, or I don't tell people I own the cafe. My wife does. She flies a flag around for us.
Have to wear the cap.
But it takes conversations like this to realise that hey, we've got this. It's a really special space.
100%.
It's almost like it's not just a cafe. It's if you're older like me, it's a bit like Cheers. That bar where everyone just goes and hangs out and they meet and they talk. And quite often around town, you'll see clubs say meet at the Salty here, meet at the Salty at this time.
Yeah.
It's a very unique space.
Yeah. A lot of people come through. You got some footy players. You got some interesting clientele.
Oh, we had speaking of that, and I don't know if you've been following. We had like Bailey was there again this morning, and I'm not sure what's going on. Like he's tagging us in every day. Yesterday he was posting having his coffee there, but look, we get a lot of the Geelong footy players come through. I've got a couple that live up on Beach Road, not too far, so they're down a couple of times a week. But we've attracted some weird things, like Todd Woodbridge has been down. He's runs a postcard session from there.
Yeah, right.
We had Sam, I always forget his surname, Sam Mack from Sunrise. We run a pooch parade there every year. We have a lot of fun down there, and for some reason people gravitate and grab hold of this and want to come down and be part of it.
Going to the pooch parade.
So this was a joke in year one. One of my uni students, his name was Jack. He's now a fully qualified teacher. He's married. He's had a baby, and we're still friends with all these people that have come through and worked for us. But a couple of months in, customers start asking for some T-shirts, and then I like wearing hats, so I started getting some hats done, and the merch has just morphed out of control. But he said to me, when we're going through this initial stages with establishing the cafe, he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about having a pooch parade?" And I was like, and again, I always say this, I said, "Mate, we're a cafe. We're not a petting zoo.
Yeah.
We're not the local vet. We're not dog therapy, although people come down just to pat dogs.
Yeah.
People who can't afford a dog or don't have a backyard come down to pat a dog. It's amazing.
100%.
It's amazing.
100%.
He said, let's have a pooch parade. So it started off as a joke.
Yeah.
And then we had to shut it down for that 2 years of lockdown because we were gathering crowds.
Of course.
So I think last year was number 6 or number 7. And we give away a heap of prizes, best dressed pooch, best dressed pooch and owner, best trick, best theme, naughtiest dog. We get the local vets involved. They give away some prizes. Get an MC down. One of my mates, he works for the local real estate agency. Right. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We get a runway for the dogs to walk down. We block the car park off. And again, I sort of go, hey, why are we doing this? We're just a cafe.
It's just fun.
And I think it's that sort of stuff, the fun stuff, the merch, the engagement with the customers, the meeting spots, the clubs. You put all that together, and again, without sounding, too full of ourselves, it's more than just a coffee house.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a community.
Yeah, it's cool.
Really quickly becomes a community. I've got to get down to this pooch parade. I was when I was sitting in the cafe the other day, I sat down and I texted my partner, and she's a vet up in Geelong, and I said, "Can you get down here for lunch?" And she's like, "Not today." And I said, "Well, you need to, because she's mad about dogs and would absolutely love it. So exactly the same thing. Go say hello to all the dogs and everything." And I would too, and I'd love an excuse to, if she's doing it, then I have to do it as well. So, but it's just so beautiful down there. The people really make it, I think, and the staff are all super friendly, and it's just really good vibe. So you've done a really good job.
Actually, I haven't said it. I think the big connector, it's actually the dogs. Yeah. You're sitting there and you've got a brown border collie and he's doing a trick or he looks cute. Like that is, if you're in the supermarket or the street and you approach another human being and start talking to them, people think you're weird, right?
Yeah, correct.
But if you go up to someone, and I see it all the time, people that are by themselves, maybe they're lonely, maybe they just by themselves on the day, and you put your hand out and you say, "Can I pat your dog?" Or, "I've got a border collie that colour," or, "What's his name?" We had a dog called Rex. That it's actually the dogs that's the connectors, and they're just. I've got 2 dogs. They're menaces. I can't take them there because they're naughty. But they go there sometimes.
Naughtiest dog prize at the pooch parade.
Yeah, it's the dogs that do connect humans.
What kind of dogs do you have?
We've got a rescue.
Yep.
She's a beautiful dog. She's a She's a Labradoodle. She's actually in disguise as a beautiful dog. Yeah. So she's a Labradoodle. She's got a haircut. She loves catching birds.
Yeah, right.
And rabbits.
Menace.
So we're always telling her off. And then we've got a little cattle dog, Winnie. She's a she's a Coolie cross border collie.
Okay.
And she's just this high energy, throw me a stick, throw me a ball thing.
Nutter. So, just completely obsessed.
Yep.
Yep. Won't stop.
Yep.
So do you have many naughty dogs, or is it just most people bring out dogs that are well trained, obviously?
Yeah, look, we don't get. Look, I've in the 8 years I have been nipped a couple of times.
Yep.
And I mean a nip, like nothing serious.
Yeah.
I had a staff get nipped. We had to go get a tetanus shot. But most of the time in that environment, you know, it's well behaved people.
Yeah.
With their dogs.
With well-behaved dogs.
With well-behaved dogs. It's always the dogs that are naughty. So I think I said to you the other day, it's like when you go to a restaurant and the naughty kids are running around and making it's the parents, it's the owner's responsibility. So you do see from time to time. We actually had one the other week. I won't name the breed because it's a bit unfair, but had a muzzle on and it was anxious and it shouldn't have been there. Yeah, Chihuahua. The naughty one, the small ones are the naughtiest.
Oh
usually.
Man, there was this Chihuahua that used to come into one of the shops that I worked with, and the lady would come in on her scooter, and there was a little Chihuahua on the front of the scooter with like the Mardi Gras beads around it.
Yep.
And you'd be like, oh, that's so cute. Like, hi. And the dog would just immediately at you. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I will leave you be. You're fine. The vicious little thing.
Yeah, wow.
Little dog syndrome, 100%.
Yeah. It just made me think then when you were saying this, I had someone wheel a dog in last week in like a trolley.
Yeah.
Because it had its legs broken. It was in a cast.
Oh.
We had a regular customer. I remember one morning, it was a couple of years ago, and I forget, might have been a Saint Bernard. It was a big dog.
Yeah.
And they're all sitting down and they're all crying and they're having a coffee. And I went over and I said, guys, is everything okay? And they're actually taking the dog to be put down.
Oh.
But they said they wanted to bring it to the cafe for its last puppuccino or whatever they were giving it, a dog treat. We sell a heap of dog treats.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, so special things, they're not special. They're special moments.
Yeah.
Happen like that often.
The dog got a living wake. So
yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And are there? And this is just because I don't know. Are there like puppy classes that come along? Is it like because it's dog friendly? Do you have people?
It's funny you say that. There's a local. We had to get Winnie, so she's the anxious Coolie crosser we have. We did some dog training early on, and there's a Damien. He's a local dog trainer. He will bring people through just to walk through the cafe. He asked us if it was okay. Every so often we'll see him with dogs that are anxious, that he's training just to be, a bit calmer around crowds and people. We don't offer anything like that. That's done
separate
up on the Esplanade.
Yeah.
But we do see these people come through from time to time.
Yeah. Awesome. That's cool. So you've got the beautiful community at the cafe. What do you do outside of that in the community? Are you involved in any charities or any other causes that you're passionate about, or what else do you do?
Yeah, so I've always been big on the community. The Torquay community has been really good to us. So we're happy to, within reason, you can only go so far, give back as much as we can.
Of course.
So we sponsor a couple of things with the sporting clubs, the Torquay Suns, North Torquay Footy Club.
Okay.
So we sponsor the Suns. We, for the whole football and netball season, we offer a Player of the Week Coaches Award. So, and the award's nothing crazy. It's a protein smoothie or a milkshake for the Player of the Week of your choice. But we do that for every netball game and every footy game. Every week.
Yeah. So it gives them something to, try to be best on ground for, 100%.
Yeah. So my sons also play for the footy club.
And then he's only won 51 weeks out of 52. So.
And then we also sponsor the local basketball clubs.
Yep.
Again, my kids play in a couple of different basketball teams. So we help out with, there's a cost for the singlets and the uniforms.
Yeah.
I'm sure we get a logo on there. But, we've helped out from day one with a number of different clubs. Locally for that. And we've done what else have we done? We help with the local kinders, schools, raffles. I'm thinking about it now. We give way too much away. The local longboarders club, because he's my neighbour. He likes longboarding.
Nice.
He tried to get me down there. I'm just hopeless. I love surfing, right?
You'll surf, but you won't longboard.
And it's very different. I mean, you're still surfing, but longboarding is an art. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we sponsor Torquay longboarders. There's an outriggers club.
Yeah, right.
Again, she's a neighbour.
Yeah.
All his neighbours hitting me up. So do you know what an outrigger is? It's like a huge canoe, huge with looks like something. Have you ever been to Bali and they got those boats with I don't know what you call them, the stabilisers.
Oh yeah.
Out the side.
I don't know.
Is it an outrigger?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I guess.
We sponsor those guys, so we give them some uniforms. So we do as much as we can, and I had someone reach out to me last night. There's a GoFundMe page for a sick child and a couple other bits and pieces. So we do as much as we can, within reason.
You're all about that community awareness.
Yeah.
Awesome. And do you play footy yourself? Are you?
Nah, look,
just surfing?
I like my fitness. I try and stay fit.
Yeah.
A bit of gym work and surfing. So,
nice.
I love my surfing.
Nice.
So I haven't done a surf trip. We got a little surf trip last year, but yes, it's hard to find the time to get away. Yeah.
Well, you're a cafe owner. So
yeah.
It kind of keeps you there, fairly centrally located.
We get up to so say my brother lives in Byron Bay, so we get up there. Great spot. We're actually up there about 6 times. He got married last year, so we're up there probably 5 or 6 times last year, and he had a great spot. He was actually beachfront. You just come out his front door, and you're straight down on the sand. And the water's just always a bit nicer up there. It's a bit warmer. It's always a funny feeling in the water up there. Just there's a lot of fish activity.
Yeah.
Are you a beach person?
I've been to the beach. I'm not super beachy, but
okay.
I've been to the beach. I go when I'm up at the Sunshine Coast because my family's up there.
Yep.
Always go to the beach.
Yeah, okay.
'Cause I love the water.
Yeah,
But,
Yep. So we're up there a bit last year. We got to do a little surf trip. Went to Fiji in August last year for his birthday.
Yeah.
It was his 40th birthday.
Yep.
And we got to surf over there for a few days, which was nice. But outside of that, I'm not playing footy.
No.
Tennis. My body's feeling a bit old to go running. So yeah.
Well, there's people out there there's no excuse. You've got to be able to keep running. Apparently, is the number one thing. I was chatting to a guy who's in his 80s and he's still running marathons.
Yeah, wow.
And he's like, you just got to keep moving.
We actually just had there's a lady called Brooke McIntosh.
Yeah.
And her brother is it Cade McIntosh? He plays for the Tigers.
Camden.
Is that in Camden?
I think it's Camden McIntosh.
So this is Camden's sister.
Yeah.
So I got a message like 3 weeks ago. Really random. Hey, I was at your cafe last year. I'm from Perth.
Yeah, right.
I was at your cafe last year. It's amazing. And if you come to the cafe, it's not 5-star. Like we're talking, it's wooden tables on some seashells, beachside.
But like it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Like I pick on,
Don't talk it down.
Yes. But like I sometimes I get messages from old school friends saying, hey, I'm going to come down. I want to check out your cafe.
Yeah.
You got this amazing Instagram following and the pictures look great. And I sort of feel sometimes like, they're going to come here and go, is that it? Like, where's the rest of it? But anyway, so I get this message from this girl called Brooke. I'm running around Australia. I'm running 80 Ks a day. So she's doing 2 marathons a day.
Yeah, right.
For 160 days.
Yeah.
I don't even know. You need the calculator out to work out how far it is.
Let's do it.
But she goes, so her name's Brooke McIntosh. Check her out.
Yeah.
And she's raising money for
4,800 Ks.
Is it women's mental health or just mental? It's a great cause. I think she's had some friends go through some stuff, and she obviously also has, or she's been part of that journey. So she's raising, is it maybe for Beyond Blue?
Yeah.
Anyway, you have to check it out.
Yeah.
So she goes, I was in your cafe last year. I'm making Torquay a stop. We're coming there for breakfast.
Yep.
I'd love to catch up with you. So she had this whole support network.
Wow.
The local Torquay Run Club came and met up with her.
Yep.
It was really cool. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you just sat down and had a chat, or did you
So
have
then
to
I
keep
made
running?
her. She was like, I think she's eating like 5,000 calories a day, or
Far
whatever
out.
the number is. You got
Yeah.
to eat to run 2 marathons a day.
Yeah.
You know, all her knees are taped and ankles. Like she looked pretty battered up. And then she ran up the highway the next day, all the way into Melbourne.
Yeah.
I think she actually went to the Tigers, Richmond Tigers
Yeah, right.
footy club for the day, and then kept running.
Kept running.
So I don't know where she is now, but yeah, look her up.
New South Wales somewhere, maybe?
Somewhere, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So what's her name again?
Brooke McIntosh.
Brooke McIntosh. Awesome.
Yeah.
So find her Instagram and put that in the link.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Mm.
So have you done any fundraising activities like that yourself? Have you decided to run 2 marathons a day? Obviously not that, but
No, look, the only weird thing I did, I decided, it was a long time ago, to walk into Mount Everest Base Camp.
yeah, right.
And that was just a whole different. I had this. I got this crazy mate who just, he's single. He's a lot older than me. He's never been married, and he's just this big adventure guy. Like he drove across the Simpson Desert back in the 80s in an old school Land Rover, just with a shovel and some water cans,
Yeah, right.
to get through. And he got bogged, and he tells these great stories about the Land Cruiser getting bogged, and he was stuck there for 2 days. He had to dig himself out with the shovel. Anyway, he actually introduced me to my wife back in the early 90s.
There you go.
In the early 90s. So I've done a heap of cool trips with him, mainly a lot of surfing trips.
Yeah.
But he got right into hiking.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, do you want to train with me for a year? We need to train flat out every weekend, get the Ks under the feet.
Yeah.
And we're going to hike into Mount Everest Base Camp.
Wow.
So we did that back in, I think 2004. We weren't raising money for a charity. There was no actual reason to do it apart from the challenge.
On a whim. Yeah, 100%.
And we did it. And I think I lost, in 25 days, I lost about 8 kilos.
Far out.
Because have you been to Southeast Asia? Or,
Oh, yeah, been a bit. Yeah. Thailand, Vietnam, Laos.
Yeah.
Got arrested in Laos. That was.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah.
What for?
We were playing cards. This is now being recorded. We were playing cards in a train station. Don't do that. We were playing up and down the river. It wasn't even like a proper, wasn't like actual gambling, but they assumed that we were gambling. And
Were you gambling though?
No, just up and down
Gambling
the
for
river.
cigarettes or anything, or-
Nothing. We're just like, we're waiting for the train. We're bored. We're past the time, and
Wow.
these 2 guards came over and said, "Passports come with us." And we're like,
Really?
Okay, cool. We did manage to get out. It was all okay. We chatted to them and may have transferred some money and made sure that we got out
Wow.
okay. But yeah, we paid the fine and that was it. But yeah, we've got that story for life now.
When was that? How long ago was that?
That was late last year.
Recently?
It was October.
You've
yeah.
recently been arrested?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, arrested. They just sort
Have
of.
you ever been arrested in Australia?
Nah, never.
Okay.
I'm a goody two shoes, mate.
Okay.
I'm a very, very straight and narrow kind of guy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
never been arrested. Also,
Yeah, just
for the
clarify
record.
that. Yeah, a couple of close calls, but no. So yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, that area, the weight drops off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the humidity. It's having to walk everywhere. I guess it's much the same as what you experienced.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was crazy. It was a full on sort of 5 weeks of trekking, and I think because you're not getting any protein over there, like you're definitely not getting any red meat.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of I'd probably say raw chicken. We got sick a few times.
Oh no.
You're just eating it's called dal bhat. Just a lot of rice and veggies.
Yeah.
So
Just what they've got.
yeah. But
Yeah.
that was cool. That was a cool time.
Yeah, definitely. So you've done much travel or?
Yeah, only like a lot of Southeast Asia. Actually,
Yeah.
when I finished uni, I had a lot of friends take off overseas. And I was like, you know what, I want to see my country first.
Yeah, nice.
So I took off half the year, packed the surfboards, cars, went up the East Coast. I actually stayed in Byron Bay, I think, for 6 weeks in a tent.
Yeah, right.
When we first went up. And then we went up as high as Daydream Island.
Okay.
And then going back to your question around working in cafes and restaurants, I worked in a restaurant there overnight. I was just the dishy. We would wash dishes. We'd get the boat over to, wasn't Daydream Island? What's the exclusive one over there?
Not sure.
Starts
Haven't
with
been up that
M.
far.
Magnetic Island, not
Magnetic
Magnetic.
Island.
Anyway,
No.
it's like $mega to stay for a night.
Yeah.
So we weren't allowed to interact with the guests. Obviously,
Oh.
we weren't good looking enough,
No.
or whatever it was. So
Hard
we
to
used
believe.
to wash. We used to get a boat over at 4 PM, have some dinner, and we'd wash dishes from 6 at night until 6 in the morning.
Yeah, wow.
And then we get the boat back, and we'd try and sleep in a tent all day in sort of very humid 30-degree temperature. we'd try and go to the pub, party, meet some people, and then we'd be back on a boat. It was actually it was a horrible couple of weeks.
I was going to say, like, you were doing this for fun?
Well, sleeping in a tent during the day,
No.
the humidity is horrible.
Yeah, especially up there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So to answer your question, yeah, I've done a lot of Eastern Seaboard.
Yep. Obviously, with your national sales role, you would have been all over the place.
Everywhere, yeah. So that was really good. We got to see some cool places.
Yep.
And then just mainly Southeast Asia. Yeah, I only went to. Have you been to Europe?
Yes.
I only went to Europe for the first time a year and a half ago.
There you go.
And again, Italian heritage, so I wanted to go over.
Yep.
And that was a lot of fun.
You from a seaside town in Italy?
No.
No. So there you go.
No,
Where's the beachiness
no.
come from in the family? Like
Yeah. Well, I think just growing up by the beach, my dad was a lifesaver.
Yeah, right.
At Henley Beach in Adelaide,
Yeah,
so always around the beach.
Awesome. So whereabouts in Italy?
We flew into Milan, and then we only went to about 4 or 5 places: Florence, Tuscany. Place called Levanto, which is it's the first town before Cinque Terre.
Yes.
So we're on the beach there.
Beautiful.
That was cool.
Yeah, nice.
And that was what was even crazier. We can go crazy here if you want.
Yeah, go on.
We met Lou's sisters were turning 30 that year. She's got some younger sisters.
Yep.
And they were traveling through Europe, so they decided they wanted to meet us for her 30th birthday in Ibiza.
Yeah, right.
So we did sort of 3 weeks in Italy, and then we went to Ibiza for 3 days. And have you ever been there?
No, never Ibiza.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like that. It's like The Hangover.
Yeah.
Like you go there.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, we just had to get out.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never want to go there ever again.
Yeah, right. Can you remember all of it?
Well, what the coolest part was, and I didn't, I'm a bit dumb. Like I didn't even know at the time. My brother hooked us up. His mates with. Have you heard of that DJ called Fisher?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't even know much of his music or who he is. So at the time, he had a regular gig at High Ibiza.
Yeah, right.
It's the main DJ
festival
thing.
Yep.
Every Wednesday night.
Yep.
So he said, well, if you're in Ibiza or Ibiza, I still don't know how to pronounce it.
neither.
He said, I'll hook you up with Fish.
Yeah.
We'll get you some VIP tickets. He'll sort you out. And I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. I'm 45, big deal.
Yeah.
But Lou's sisters, 27 and 30, they were going out of their minds. So we get into this club, and the weird thing was he didn't start playing until, what time was it? He didn't come on until 3 a.m.
Right.
3 a.m.
Okay.
So we'd already had a couple of days of partying and going out and stuff. And this was our last night. And I'm like, how are we going to, like, I'm in bed by 3.
Yeah.
Like I said, we need to go to bed. So we went to bed that afternoon. We set the alarms for midnight. Get to this High Ibiza club at about 11 at night. We get security into this club, and we get out to this back room, and we're in Fisher's private room out the back with a bar. He's got a sign up. So we're sitting there, and I'm texting my brother. My brother's back in Australia. I'm going, mate, where is he? And he's like, oh, he's running late. Just help yourself, have some drink. Everything was complimentary, all on the house. Anyway, he never showed up, and it got to 3 o'clock. And I said, well, I think he's on stage. And my brother said, he just said, go out. So we go out on stage, and then we're behind, we're up on the DJ set. I've got some cool video I can show you.
Yeah.
So we're on the decks with him. He's having shots of tequila with us. All these people are coming up to us going, how do you know this guy? I'm like, well,
I don't.
We're an Aussie, and he's hugging us. He's taking videos off us. Anyway, so that was a really cool experience. Wow. But that was hard. It was from 3 a.m. until 6 a.m.
Far out.
And the craziest thing, what was even crazier, we were flying out that day, and we had to be at the airport by 8 a.m. And Ibiza Airport in the morning is just hilarious because people have come straight from the clubs. They've come straight from the clubs on, from whatever they've been doing the night before.
Yeah.
And they got headphones on and they're dancing around, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, right.
So
there's no rules anyway at an airport, but it'd just be a whole nother level, I guess.
it was just crazy. So
right.
But it's definitely one of those places that it's, if you're, let's say when in Rome, if you're in Spain, go and have a look. But been there, done that. Yeah,
never again.
Never need to go back there.
Tick that one off the bucket list and forget about it.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
No, right. Yeah, crazy. That's so. Yeah, right. Brother just hooked you up with tickets casually. That's neat.
Yeah, he's got some interesting friends.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, nice. That's really cool. Takes me just before when you were talking about Italy, we were talking about Tuscany. we stayed in Tuscany and we were at this place and I was walking down it was a long driveway. And I was walking down and I'm just checking out the place. And then I've gone, this tree looks really familiar and I don't know why. And I've looked at it and I'm like, why does a tree look familiar? That's a weird thing to find familiarity with. And I'm like, oh, it's a gum tree. Why do they have a gum tree over here? And I've asked the owner and he goes, oh, they're just the previous owners had it. And well, you don't just casually get a gum tree on your driveway. Like, how does that happen? And so, he's like, I don't know. It's just always been there. And I said, that's an Australian tree, right? He goes, is it?
Wow.
Okay, cool.
Oh, so whereabouts? What town were you in?
I don't know which town. It was in Tuscany. We were in a villa. It was fairly rural.
Yep.
And just on the driveway, there's, horses in the paddocks just over here. There's all these other trees down the driveway. And then there's just these 2 gum trees that are just, and I've gone, why is that there? Why is that? Yeah, it was weird.
Wow.
But it was, and he just had absolutely no explanation for it. And I'm like, they're definitely gum trees. I've checked.
And there's more than one?
Yeah, there was 2 of them.
Wow, okay.
And I've got no idea how they ended up there. Could have been like a war thing. The guy brought them over when he was serving over there or something. I don't know. But it was really weird. And the owner had no idea.
Did you enjoy Tuscany? Were you
Loved
there?
it.
Beautiful, isn't
Loved
it?
it. It's so beautiful.
Just the hills and the wine and
It's I'd love to go live there for a year or something and really experience Italy.
Can you speak Italian?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm hoping that they would all speak English. No, don't do languages very well. But do you speak Italian?
Oh, look, I'm an embarrassment. Like I said earlier, I grew up around my nonna and nonno. Coffee, hand making pasta, gnocchi, like hearing it all the time. But then when we moved to Melbourne, that was probably the breakaway. Because my parents didn't speak, they do speak fluent Italian, but they didn't speak Italian at home to us.
Right.
So I understand a lot of words. I can talk a little bit, but
but not.
It's embarrassing.
Would you ever learn it?
So I actually
download Duolingo. And
when I actually, my kids we're actually going this year.
Oh, nice. So you need to learn it.
Yeah. My dad is. He's decided to take the whole family.
Yeah, wow.
In September. We're all going. There's 13 of us with the kids.
Yep.
He's taking us for a month.
How good.
Yeah. So actually my kids are on Duolingo at the moment.
Yeah. Learning, getting the streak up, all that jazz. Yeah.
But I did study, I did a couple of terms back in my 20s. I went to enroll myself in the local TAFE and started reading and writing and but it's not very good.
I did Latin in school. So it's like I see where the words come from for most of the European languages. Like when they're written out, I can say, there's the Latin influence, but I can't speak it. No one speaks it. It's a dead language and it's not useful. So don't know why I did it, but I did it. So
where did you go to school?
Geelong College.
Right, okay. So you grew up in Geelong?
No, I actually grew up in Portland. So I'm 3.5 hours down the coast. And Dad was the pharmacist down there and the treasurer at the cricket club and all that jazz. And grew up there and then moved when 2007, 8 to Geelong. So I've been here most of my life, but grew up down there. So
last time I went there, I had actually on a work trip. Went tuna fishing.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
Yeah, it's good
Great
fun.
Tuna fishing down there.
Good fun.
Yeah. It's a good spot. It's I like getting down there. It's a great little place. And Geelong was sort of the big smoke before Melbourne. It's that for country people out that way. It's definitely the big city. But it's crazy how much Western Victoria still knows.
Yes.
Everyone in Geelong.
Do you get back there often? Have you got friends there?
I try. We had a house. We had a spare a family. I say a spare house. No, a holiday house down there that was sort of family owned by my grandfather, and that got sold recently. So there's not really been a reason to go down there. We haven't had any family down there for a while. Yeah. But I do love going out west. We've got family in Colac, and there's people spread out west. Yeah. Got a big family as well. So but. Yeah, most of the family's actually migrating to Queensland now for the better weather and the warmer water and all that stuff. So, it's just, I try to get out as often as I can, and I do for work, but not so often anymore. Yeah.
It's funny that Queensland thing, like we've had, like a couple of years ago, and I don't want to harp on it, I've already said it once with those lockdowns and stuff, we knew a heap of Torquay families that just left and they all went to the Sunshine Coast, all of them. Yep. Like they didn't go to the Gold Coast, they didn't go to Byron, or they all ended up in the Sunshine Coast, and they're all really happy. Yep. Some had their own businesses, some were employees. That's where they've all ended up. Oddly enough, they all keep coming back to Torquay a couple of times a year. Yeah. For I would say not family, like maybe it's friends.
Yeah, it's because they know this really good
just
cafe
a holiday.
down by the beach.
They know I'm a sucker, and I give them a free coffee. Yeah,
they're loyal to the salty dog. It is what it is.
But a lot of people Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, my parents moved there to, just have a better lifestyle, and they're having it. So it's a lot less stress on Dad. Dad was a business owner down here. Now he is bouncing around doing locum work as a pharmacist and loving it. He can finish at 5, so he doesn't have to stay back and do all the extra work. He just knocks off when he needs to. And I've got other family members that are considering moving up, and I just love Geelong too much.
Yeah.
So I'm sadly afflicted with being a Victorian.
I'll tell you what, there is something about I'll say the surf coast because I like the beach, but there is something nice. I love autumn this time of year. Like I like putting a flanny or a hoodie on. It's not too cold, but it's cold enough you need a jacket. It's a really cool time of the year.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's really good. Snuck up there for Mother's Day and surprised Mum, and the whole time the Sunshine Coast was raining. Yep, and it's like a bit misleading advertising.
Well, I think I mentioned before we went to Byron, I think 6 times last year, and I think and I mentioned it was my brother's wedding. It even rained on his wedding day, but I think it rained every single time we were there.
Yeah, far out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, Sunshine Coast. Everyone expects Victorian weather. Yeah. I clearly took it with me. Yeah. Because I heard from people down here in the office that on the Monday when I was still up there and it was pouring, it was a beautiful day down here. I'm like, oh, you're kidding. Yeah. You're kidding. I've just taken it all with me. Yeah. But no, being in Western Victoria is just so good. And Surf Coast and everything further west as well. It's just, I really like it. So, got a lot of family connection there, but it's just a good spot to be. So
West is best.
Yeah, West is best. Western Victoria is the best in Victoria, 100%. That is our motto. But, people prefer Sunshine Coast. That's up to them. That's fine. They're happy. They're able to do that. And as long as they keep coming back or I get free accommodation up there, I don't mind. So do you go up to Byron Bay fairly often then?
Yeah, look, we're trying to not go this year.
Yeah, right.
Just because we've been up, I feel like we've just been up there too much.
Yeah, so, it's not a falling out with the brother or anything. No,
we're just trying to have a year. He's away this year working, so trying to have this year off.
Yeah,
so
he can come down to you.
Yeah.
Does he come down often?
Yeah, so he does. Like he was down. He's in the UK at the moment.
Yeah, wow.
He was down. Earlier this year, like he gets down a couple of times a year, so we're pretty close family. So and he likes surfing, so he'll come down here and surf. And he's still got he only moved up there 10 years ago, so he's still got a heap of friends in Melbourne. So he's got some connections down here still. But oddly enough, like with us in Torquay dragging the family down, he's had a heap of his friends move up there to Byron also. Like I think people sort of for some reason follow us around.
You've got the right energy. People come with you. It's just, I bought a cafe and now everyone wants to hang out there. So it's just is what it is. Yeah, fair enough.
I can tell you a funny story about coffee.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard of St. Ali coffee?
No.
Okay, so St. Ali, I would comfortably say is the biggest...
maybe I have.
Biggest Melbourne coffee brand. So they are in Coles and Woolies now.
Yep.
So anyway, when I was in about 2001, I was a sales rep at Coca-Cola.
Yep.
And I was, you get to meet all these business owners, and I meet this guy at RMIT Uni. His name is, good Aussie name, Salvatore Malatesta.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, Sal.
True blue.
Anyway, and I get on with this guy famously, and his brother's running a cafe downstairs, and he was quite young, so I would have been 23, 24. He would have been in his 20s. Yeah. But a highly intelligent, I think he'd just dropped out of his law degree at Melbourne University. Dropped out because he was into buying and selling cafes. Oh. And I vividly, it's almost like that moment when I was driving up the Princess and I ran into that truck. Yeah. I remember this vividly. We're chatting one day, having a coffee. I'm taking his Coke order for the week. And he goes, hey, let's do a cafe. So this is 20... call it 23 years ago. Yeah. He goes, let's do a cafe. I go, what are you talking about, mate? I still live at home. Yeah. I just bought a little unit in Richmond that I was going to move into. Yeah. I don't have any money. Like he goes, well, I'll finance it. I need someone to run it. Leave your job at Coke. And at the time, I remember I was on about $40,000. Yeah. I had a company car that had Coca-Cola down it. I had a phone. I had a laptop. Like I was I was the king. Like with my mates, I like, how good's James doing at the moment? I was probably about 35 grand actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he kept bringing it up for a couple of weeks, and I stewed on it and 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 just said, look, it's not the right time. And we stayed friends for probably the next 10 years while I was at Coke, and then we sort of fell away. And I did run into him a few times. Probably in the early teens, like 2013, 14, through PFD, which was the food company I worked for.
Yep.
But he went on. He sponsors a car of the F1 Grand Prix.
Right.
Like he's big. I think they employ a couple of thousand people. Look them up, St. Ali, and they've still got in South Melbourne. It's like the original cafe.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's a cool cafe in the back streets. There's nothing there. There's just a door you walk into. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, there's a cafe in this space.
Far out.
But yeah, that's my missed opportunity moment. And again,
you ended up in a cafe.
I'm a big believer of you're always going to end up where you're meant to end up.
100%.
It just depends on the road that you take.
Sure.
So I took a different road, and but yeah, that was probably going back then. I didn't realise that I was meant to end up in a cafe.
Yeah, there you go. So what's next for the Salty Dog? You've got the merch, obviously.
Yeah.
You've got everything's popping. You've got the really good community. You've got everything. Is there?
I think so. I think and I talk to I always like to have a project.
Yep.
I like my old Holdens. So I like tinkering with. I'm far from a mechanic.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of old cars that I've bought and flipped over the years, and I'm into my cars, my old cars. So I like to have a project.
Love Holdens.
Point it down. Did you used to have a
I
Holden
didn't.
or did you drive one?
Oh, actually, I was about to say I didn't have a Holden, but I lie. My first car was my dad's old pharmacy delivery car.
Right.
2003 Holden Barina.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yep.
But I've always, I'm a big fan of Australian manufacturing. I love the fact that Australia could build a car.
Yes.
And so I've always been a Holden guy just because of that. And in one of the previous podcast episodes, I think it was Jordan Ditloff episode 2, we talk about, if theoretically if we could bring back Holden, what would that look like? What would the government policies need to be? That sort of stuff. So it's always something that's in the back of my head. Big fan of Holden.
Well, wasn't my first car, but it was my second car.
Yeah.
But I got a Holden VL Commodore. Now I don't know if it's an 86 to 88.
Yep.
Actually had a Nissan engine in it.
Yep.
So I had that in my early 20s, and then I've always sort of had a bit of a love affair with Holdens.
Yep.
But you're asking what's next. My point of talking about cars is I like to have a project. So I'm sort of done with the cars. I've got the Holden that I want.
Yep.
Never say never, but I don't think I'm ever selling. I don't need any more car projects.
Yep.
In regards to the cafe space, will there be a Salty Dog too? Or I don't. I never say never, and I'll just go back to I like having a project. So we've always got our eyes open.
Awesome, open to opportunities.
Like people have approached me around roasting coffee, about doing partnerships, and I'm probably at the stage where I don't want to risk too much. I'm getting older.
Yeah,
but I do have young kids. Young kids are very expensive.
That's true.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what will happen?
There is a Salty Dog branded coffee, isn't there?
Yeah, so we use our supplier is a Melbourne-based company.
Yep.
And they do manufacture. We've got Salty Dog coffee.
Yep.
That we sell in store.
Sweet.
Who knows? And it's just a really like the logo. I'm looking at the logo now behind you.
Yeah.
Everyone says to me, "Oh wow, it's the old Mambo poo shooter." Do you know the Mambo?
No.
Maybe no. Sounds a bit weird.
Those words sound completely odd to me.
So if you type in Mambo is a surf brand.
Yeah.
And when Mambo first came out, shows my age, back in 90s or early 2000s, it was a dog shooting a poo.
Yeah,
it's
right.
actually quite disgusting.
There you go.
And but everyone, when they saw the logo, they go, "Oh, it's the old Mambo logo."
Yeah,
and I said,
right.
"Well, not really. It's just the logo that we made up."
Yeah.
So
how did you design it? How did you design the logo? Was it just?
Yeah, we got a local guy, and we had all these fancy clean cut sort of logos he was putting towards us. And again, we're like, we're on the beach, the dogs come out of the water, they're salty. They
they
come
don't
up to
look
the
perfect.
cafe. I don't sort of want it perfect. It's a bit
No.
like us, like it's a bit all mismatched. What is perfect though looks pretty bad. We talk about staff parties gone wrong. Is when you get the local tattoo artist over, and we got a heap of our staff. They put a salty dog. I said, if you put a salty dog on your body somewhere, it means I'm going to have to give you a free coffee for life. So we didn't have any tattoos. So my wife got one, I got one. We got a couple of staff that got them.
That's just for staff, right? That's not an open call out.
Well, actually, what was funny, I posted it on our Instagram, and one of the local guys, he actually had a lot of tattoos, and he was like, "Oh, I'll go get one.
Yeah.
I'll go get one if I get free coffee for life." And I was like, "No, man, don't
do that.
Don't go. Why would you put our cafe logo on your body?" He goes, "Oh, but it's a dog, it's cool."
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, don't get it.
I don't have any
I'll just give you
tattoos.
free. Actually, I think I said to him, "I'll give you free coffee if you don't get one." But anyway, so I've got a couple of staff, and we're on all pretty good terms with most of the ex staff that leave.
Yep.
They come in. Look, I got a tattoo, free coffee today. So
it's like the stamp at
yeah,
the
we're
clubs.
true to our word.
Yep.
Yeah. But I always say that people go, "What's that on your wrist?" They can sort of see it behind my watch. I
Salty
said,
dog.
it's a staff party's gone wrong.
Yep.
So,
Nice.
Yeah.
So was the local tattoo artist a staff member or just someone who
No,
was
it's just someone we knew, and
at
then we
the
got them
staff
around,
party,
and we had to
or-
get them fixed after the
Yeah,
staff
right.
party because they were maybe done under the influence. So, anyway,
maybe
allegedly,
allegedly.
everyone consented for us to draw on their body.
Yep.
Yeah, we paid for it, so it's all good.
Yep.
So.
Nice.
Actually, one of them, one of the staff, it was actually, I felt bad. It was her first tattoo.
Oh wow.
And a lot of people, have you got any tattoos?
No. I was just about to say
You
my
think
first would be a salty dog.
So a lot of
Free coffee.
So I know people with a lot of tattoos, and they say it's very addictive. Like once you get one, you want another one and another one, and this one staff member in particular, it was her first tattoo.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about it now. She's now since got a full sleeve tattoo, a shoulder tattoo. It's coming across her chest.
Yep.
I just wonder if that's our fault.
You started the addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Hope not.
But they hurt, man, far out.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest hesitation
they
is
hurt.
I'm a massive chicken. So
Well, they hurt more than I actually thought.
Yeah.
I am a wuss, but
Yeah.
they really hurt.
no. So not again. Is that your only tattoo? Or?
Oh, look, no. So I've got one on my back. I don't know. I think it was like maybe a thing you did. Yeah, it's just like a pattern with all the kids, no names, and just initials. I didn't put my wife's name, just in case she leaves me. So it's just an initial.
Just got to
I'm
find
joking.
find one with the same initial.
Just some initials and birth dates. But
nice.
that's about it.
Nice.
So,
Cool.
Yeah.
So you were not a fan of tattoos.
I'd always said, I had this joke saying, why would I, I am big. I went through this phase where I was doing like hours of, I was right into my yoga.
Yeah, right.
Doing yoga. Look, I've always been into fitness. Mum has been a yoga teacher for 50 years.
There you go.
Used to teach yoga out of our garage down the road from Jono McCartney.
Yeah, right.
Down the road from Jono. He probably came to a few classes. I reckon he was perving on my sister too.
Yeah.
I know that, Jono. I know that if he's listening.
He'll be listening.
And my dad has always been this mad swimmer, did marathons. So we grew up in a family of moving and exercise. So I always had this thing, I would say, my brother had a lot of tattoos. My sister doesn't have any. So I'd always say, why would I really respect my body? Why would I go draw on it and sort of wreck it? Anyway, and then I've gone and got a couple of tattoos now.
Yeah. No, I've never, I don't know, never fallen into it. Didn't really grow up around them.
Yeah.
None of my family members have any tattoo. Well, I've got a couple of uncles and cousins and that sort of stuff, but
mine are
parents-
hidden, so you never see this one on the wrist. Unless I
it's
take
hidden
my
behind
shirt
the
off.
watch.
So
You a big watch guy?
love watches.
Yeah?
Yeah, love watches. So I was actually really lucky. Are you into watches?
Yeah.
Have you seen this? Yeah, so I was really lucky to get this. It was actually a bit of a gift.
Yeah, right.
It's a couple of years old, but I've got a cousin who's a jeweler. He's actually one of the biggest opal dealers in South Australia.
Oh, wow.
And he's right into his watches.
Yeah.
He's got a crazy watch collection.
Is he on that Opal Hunters show or?
No, he's not on a show. And he gets all the MMA fighters, all the people that go to Adelaide go to him. He's if you're into opals,
the guy. Yeah.
He's writing. So he's taught me a lot about watches. But like fancy watches, like they're really hard to get.
Yeah.
Like like you can't go into. I'll start with an easy one. Like you can't walk into Rolex
And just walk out
buy
with
a
one.
watch.
No.
I've been on a waiting list for a couple of years through them just just to have my name down.
Yeah.
And my cousin said, if you don't even want the watch, just buy it and I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because you can't get them.
No.
And then these more exclusive brands, unless you're someone famous, a sports person, you're not getting them.
You're waiting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what drives the price up.
That's the scarcity.
The second-hand price on most of these watches is dearer than the retail price.
Yeah. You're right.
Because you can't get them.
No.
You can't get them.
That's interesting. I've got my eye on one. It's a really nerdy thing because I'm a bit of a history buff. It's a watch, and I can't remember the name. I think it's REC Watches online, and they've got these watches that were made with the parts with metal from one of the Spitfires that was in the Battle of Britain.
Yes.
And Australian fighter pilot ace Pat Hughes, I think it was Pat Hughes, flew this particular Spitfire, and the watches have been made out of that plane. So you've got the watch made from this plane that was in the Battle of Britain.
Wow.
So my mind's just like, oh, that's so cool. So, it's like, oh, yeah, cool, a Rolex, but it's a Rolex. So
wow.
I'm like, this is historical.
It's special.
It's
very
it's got
special.
History. So, that's what makes me excited about it. And
yeah.
It looks cool too, so, but will I ever get one? Who knows? We'll see. But
so how do you get them? Do you
limited edition? It's a wait list. You can just buy them, but it's like a wait list or something like that. I've got to look into it properly. But
wow.
I've seen the ad online. I've got email lists in there, so I've got it all saved and ready to go. And it's just a matter of buying the thing now, I guess.
Yeah,
I've just got to put that together.
How much are they? Do you know?
Like they're in British pounds, so I don't know exactly. And the conversion's probably wrong, so I've got no idea. But a few grand.
Yeah.
So not a big expensive watch, but it's
you get really nice watches for you get my day-to-day watch. I'll wear this $100 thing I bought from Rip Curl.
Yeah.
So I'm always banging my wrist at the cafe and at work. It's just this rubber thing I wear in the water. But you can get a good watch for a couple $100.
Yeah.
So you don't need to.
They all tell the time.
You don't need to spend the money.
Yeah,
so.
Correct. But I do like a nice watch.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. So, going back a little bit, we were talking about tattoos. You wouldn't do it again?
Oh, I don't know if I need to. Like
no? I can get a number 2 next to the salty dog for when you open up the second.
I wouldn't know what to. I actually wouldn't know what to get.
Well, that's part of the issue, I guess, is the decision making process.
Yeah.
It can be tough.
But I see. Again, I know people with a lot of tattoos. They just like a staff member. She's got the inside of her lip tattooed.
Yeah, right. I guess it's hidden.
Yeah, in a hotel she stayed at, and they had a good holiday there. She had a room number tattooed on the inside of her lip.
The room number?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just some weird stuff.
That's awesome.
So I think people get addicted to being
tattooed,
drawn on.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like I see, because we have a lot of, uni students, that 18 to 25-year-old, that's probably our average age with the staff at work.
Yep.
And everything goes through phases and themes, right? Like the tattoos that are coming out now, like, geez, are so bad. Like, it's almost like if you could get your 6-year-old sister to draw a shit picture on your arm, that's what they're getting. Like, they got these crap butterflies, and like I think we went through the phase of people getting sleeve tattoos and skulls and a heap of colour and stuff on their body.
Never.
And now it's all like this random stuff, like they've been in prison or something.
Yeah, your teardrops and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot of random stuff.
I was chatting to somebody the other day, and they were like, "Oh, I'm going to get these song lyrics on my shoulder or whatever," and I was like, okay, but the artist is still alive, and they could go crazy.
Yep.
And then you're forever.
Yep.
Like, it could be a Kanye situation where they go completely nuts.
Yep.
Do you want those lyrics on? It's like, oh, yeah, but the lyrics mean something to... And I'm like, I get that.
Yeah.
But at least wait until, Elvis Presley, he's safe. Yeah. He's not going to do anything. He's not going to...
It's like me, I love my music. I'm a die-hard Foo Fighters fan. I love the Foo Fighters.
Yep.
And I've got this feeling I'm going to get to hang out with Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
I know it's going to happen.
Manifest it.
It's an interesting word, manifestation,
You
because
said that you
I
were
feel
gonna
like I do
maybe-
manifest a lot of things.
Yep.
I'm going to hang with Dave and the band. I
Yep.
know it's going to happen at some point. Anyway, they played the first show in Geelong. It was the first music show after COVID.
Yeah, right.
So there hadn't been a show
remember
in
that.
Australia.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. The Foo Fighters flew in.
Yeah.
cut a long story short, I get chatting to the guitarist,
Yeah.
Chris Shiflett,
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Yeah.
Through a friend of ours that flies them around Australia. A friend of ours owns a like an aviation company.
Yeah.
And they fly the Foo Fighters around.
Yeah,
He's
right.
like, James, you can go hang with the Foo Fighters backstage. Anyway, we didn't get to hang with them. We're at the show with the kids. They flew in. We're on the message. You know, can't do it tonight. We've got to take off and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's going to happen.
It's got it.
I feel like it's going to happen.
You've come so close, so it's got to happen.
Yeah. I got the second best thing, though.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I was at a friend's birthday party, and he had some bands play there.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, I suppose, just people that are well known at this party. And I see Bernard Fanning. I'm a huge Powderfinger.
Really?
I'm a huge Powder.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
like Powderfinger?
Yeah.
I'm a huge Powderfinger fan.
I was educated correctly in music.
Love
It's
him.
okay.
Like I went, I saw him in '95.
Yeah.
In pubs around in Richmond and St Kilda.
Far
I see
out.
Bernard Fanning. I get my wife. I go, fuck, Bernard Fanning's here.
Yeah.
I've walked past him a few times. Hey mate. Anyway, so we're at this house party, and my mate's whose birthday it was, his wife gets on stage and said, I've got a surprise for everyone. Powderfinger's going to play for us.
Oh, what?
So he had the band fly in. They've broken up, man. So it wasn't the whole band.
Yeah.
So this is a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Far
They
out.
broke up in 2010.
Yeah.
And we're in this shed.
Just
and
in
they're
a
playing,
house party.
Yeah, they played for about half an hour.
Far out.
So that was amazing. We get to hang out with Bernard.
Yeah.
We're having a chat.
Yeah.
That was it. It was getting late in the night. And I said to Lou, my wife, I said, I think it's time to go home.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to fly back to Melbourne tomorrow. It was interstate.
Yep.
Anyway, we're waiting out the front, and Bernard and his wife come out.
Yeah.
And they remembered us because my brother introduced me to him, and we were
chat.
chatting throughout the night. He goes, "Oh, do you mind if we share a taxi with you?" So next thing, we're in a taxi with Bernard Fanning. We've just seen him play at this house party.
Yeah.
With all these other people, and he's like asking if we can share a taxi with him back to his house. We're like, oh yeah, geez, let me think about that, Bernard. Yeah, hop in, brother.
No, I'd rather not.
And then this was just before I told you about my Ibiza story.
Yeah.
His wife is actually Spanish. So this
There you
was
go.
a week before we're going to Europe.
Oh.
And he goes, "Oh, give me your number. I'll text you. I'll text you where to go in Madrid." You know, my wife's. You know, his wife was there. I'll text you some cool spots. So he sent me a message, and I was like, "Wow, did this really just happen?" So it was the best night.
How cool.
But what's even funnier, just to connect the dots,
Yeah.
Bernard Fanning played in Geelong 2 weeks ago.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So it was at is it Costa Hall?
Yeah. Did you get
Yeah.
to see it?
Yeah, it was second row.
Yeah, nice.
So I just happened to save his phone number,
Yeah.
happened to text him, and but I completely stuffed the night up. I got a bit excited. I got very excited.
Yeah.
And I may have had too many margaritas.
Oh, no.
And we were meant to hang back after the show and catch up, and I had to go home.
Yeah.
Because I was a bit sick.
You'd embarrassed yourself. Yeah. At least you're not standing up mid before. I shared a taxi with that bloke just in the crowd.
Anyway, so it wasn't a. If I don't get to the Dave Grohl moment, I think I'll be happy
Bernard
with
Fanning's pretty good.
the Bernard moment was pretty
Yeah.
good. He's actually a really nice guy.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
cool.
Nah, cool. All right. So we're sort of coming towards the end. What I like to do at the end is I'll do some quick fire ones at you, which is just sort of we pepper you with a bunch of stuff from a variety of different angles and see what you say. So, favourite footy team?
Well, I'm from South Australia, so Adelaide Crows.
But Bailey Smith goes to your cafe.
Yeah, look, I do have a soft spot for all the Catters. We do get them coming through.
Yep.
Yeah, so a soft spot for the Cats. I'll tip them tonight against the Bulldogs.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm an Adelaide Crows man.
Yeah, it's un-Australian to switch teams, so fair enough. That's okay. Favourite coffee blend?
Coffee blend. So I actually love the coffee we're running at the moment. So we use Duke's coffee.
Yep.
It's 100% organic coffee, and I don't know if there's coffee snobs out there. Organic coffee typically tastes horrible.
Yeah.
It's got a really bitterness to it. This one, Duke's, we've been with them for a long time. Just beautiful, sweet blend, nice and
Yep.
easy to drink. I drink it black, no milk.
Yep.
It's good.
Nice. I was going to ask how you take your coffee next. Favourite place to surf?
There's a little spot, I mean, Bells and Winky, they're iconic ways, but they're so busy. There's a little spot just down the road. It's got a funny name. It's called Boobs. It's a bit harder to get to. You got to run down the cliff face in Jan Juc.
Yep.
If there's 50 people surfing Winky, there'll be 10 people surfing here.
There you go.
The wave's not as good.
Yep.
But it goes left and right. Outside of that, love surfing in warm water.
Yep.
Surfed in Fiji last year. That was cool. Love surfing in a pair of board shorts. It's hard work getting in the rubber, but Torquay's always good.
Awesome. Favorite dog breed?
So the actual cafe, and I've got to put, you can't let my current dogs hear this. My wife will tell you that it was named after our original dog. So we had a black Labrador called Molly, and we got these beautiful photos of her and coming up to the cafe covered in sand before we even owned the cafe.
Yeah,
and she actually looks like the dog on our logo. So I think Labradors. I don't know if you're looking, they've always got like human eyes. 100%. They're very affectionate.
100%.
They just drop a lot of hair and make mess.
Yeah.
But Labradors are good.
Labradors are good dogs. Yeah. I grew up with a black lab named Fergus and a white lab named Molly. And they were my childhood dogs, and they were the best dogs. They're so beautiful. So, and then my parents have a brown lab called Dougal, and he's a nutter.
Underweight or overweight?
A little bit overweight, but he's just crazy. And then they've got a rescue dog called Myrtle, who's just like looks like a hyena. We don't really know what the breed is.
Yep.
And then I've got the border collie with my partner, and they're just good dogs. But what you said about the eyes, 100%.
Yeah.
They look into your soul.
We grew up like we had Labrador crosses, and we had a couple of those growing up. So a bit of a soft spot for the old lab.
100%. They're a good dog. They are a good dog. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate you coming on. Where can people connect with you best, other than actually physically coming into the cafe?
Yeah, you can jump on our Instagram.
Yep.
We do daily posts. We've got this amazing sunrise every day, and the sun comes up every day, but we do get amazing sunrises most days down on the beach. Facebook, we let people know what's happening.
Yep.
Other than that, come down, 47 the Esplanade, have a coffee, say hello.
Awesome. And it's at the Salty Dog Cafe?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've got the merch here. Can people get it online, or do they need to come into the shop?
We didn't really touch on the merch. We got dog leads, collars, hats, hoodies, tracky pants, flannies.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything I like to wear is for sale.
100%.
But you can buy it online. We can post it out. We post the coffee all around Australia.
Awesome.
Just jump on and have a look.
Cool. And that's on your website?
Yeah.
Sweet. Easy. All right. Well, thank you again, James Zocchi. Got it right that time. Awesome. Well, thanks very much for being here, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks.